You had said it was a fireable offense. That's being interpreted as saying that she should be fired. Are you or the president saying that she should be fired?
That's not a decision that I'm going to make. That's something for ESPN to decide. Again, I was asked about that. I think it is a fireable offense.
Interesting. Sarah Huckabee Sanders forced to answer a whole bunch of questions by not really answering them today about ESPN anchor Jemele Hill after saying she thought Hill's tweets calling the president a supremacist were a fireable offense, which usually means that you think someone should be fired for the offense. It is unusual, to say the least, for a White House press secretary to weigh in on a member of the media's job status and whether or not they should be fired. But then, these are unusual times. A fact that is highlighted by the president's decision to tweet about ESPN this morning, saying, quote, ESPN is paying a really big price for its politics and bad programming. People are dumping it in record numbers, apologize for untruth. The panel is back. Let me just read ESPN's response. They have said that the comments on Twitter from Jemele Hill regarding the president do not represent the position of ESPN. Jemele Hill has apologized by saying, my comments on Twitter express my personal beliefs. My regret is that my comments and the public way I made them painted ESPN in an unfair light. And then ESPN has also explained their ratings as being due to cord cutting. Take it away.
There's so many levels to
this. Panel.
The thing that is dangerous about this, I think that people are missing, which is why many of us in the civil rights community are saying if ESPN does this, they're going to face the wrath of a lot of us, is that the president nominates...
Why would that be limited? I mean, wouldn't everybody be offended if Sarah Huckabee Sanders calls for anybody anywhere to be fired? I mean,
But the reason why we're saying it from a civil rights point of view is you're robbing a person of their right to express their views and firing them based on the encouragement of an office that nominates the FCC that regulates ESPN. Let's not forget that the nominations for, and you know this better than anyone, for FCC commission starts at the White House. So you're talking to people who's got to deal with people that you put on FCC. So it's not just the president getting angry at CNN or MSNBC. This is about attacking him and how he responds. He's the subject here. And it's a president that built his political career calling the sitting president a non-American as a birther. So let me get this right. You can't say he's a supremacist, but he can say that this president was not an American? I mean, really?
Let me ask more. You asked a question. Let me ask three more. Is this about her as a critic? Is this about her as a woman, or is this about her as a black woman?
It's all three. It's all three.
It's all three.
First off, I've said this all along. You know, like black women are like kryptonite to this administration because it's the one constituency that they can't get to. They can get some black men to vote for them. They can get white people to vote for them. They can get some Latinos. But African-American women summarily rejected this presidency at like 96%, and they are triggered whenever a black woman says something, whether it's April Ryan or Susan Rice or somebody else. So they have this sort of visceral reaction. The second thing is this: she didn't lie. There are lots of people who say that Donald Trump at least surrounds himself with white supremacists, which, as far as I'm concerned, makes it just as problematic. But I'll say this, and this speaks to the larger issue. We talk about cord cutting and everything else like that. ESPN is caught in the middle of a larger cultural force that's happening in this country. People who want to watch football don't want to watch football. You can no longer say that sports are not politics. And that's really what's going on here. If they had gotten rid of Jemele Hill, I can promise you, if they think cord cutting was bad now, people would have summarily rejected that network for that action.
They wouldn't need the cords.
Casey, just as a woman broadcaster, I make mistakes. You know, I engage. My husband's like, what are you doing? Are you fighting with someone on Twitter? I mean, we've all sent tweets.
Yes.
Don't bait me, people. We've all sent tweets we regret the minute they're out. We all say things, you know, maybe in our private life that we think, oh, my God, I hope our bosses, Phil and Andy, don't hear that. But are we at a place where Donald Trump has had such a chilling impact on the debate, where she has to fear for her job because a White House press secretary calls for her firing from the podium?
I think there are two separate questions here. One is how, you know, she has a responsibility to her employer, to ESPN, to, you know, follow the guidelines and to conduct herself responsibly in public. And, you know, as in privileged positions like that, you know, we all have a responsibility. But that is a completely different question than, you know, what would we normally say? Somebody in a position of power is trying to, you know, get something out of person who has less power. I mean, that's fundamentally called bullying.
Let me play the devil's advocate for a minute. I know we have to go,
it.
but Kathy Griffin lost her job for sort of crossing a line. I think other people have lost their jobs. I mean, is the other side of it was perhaps a line crossed?
There's from the president's side, you mean?
I'm just saying from the side that maybe she. I'm not taking the White House's side on this. I think that as a broadcaster, as someone who sometimes engages on Twitter, I understand what she's saying. She's apologized, but is the other side of this maybe that there are people who've lost their jobs because they crossed a line?
Oh, there's definitely a line that should not be crossed when you have this platform and you're able to speak to the public, and you're supposed to do it in sort of a way that is not unbiased, to appeal to, and especially at ESPN, it's not a political forum, and so there is sort of that area, that fine line that you have to be aware of.
She didn't do it on ESPN.
Right.
She did it on her private Twitter.
Right.
It had nothing to do with ESPN.
This is the problem with the internet right now.
I think we've got to be very clear that, Nicole, there's a difference in Kathy Griffin talking about harming someone or someone making a racist or bigoted statement and someone stating a political position. She did not call him a racial name. She identified what she feels was his politics and his political surroundings.
A worldview.
Which is her right to express her view.
Sure. And I have to say, this White House also, this president has also shown that he has zero appetite for criticism. And so when somebody does criticize him,
we have to go, but it's also provable that whether or not he's a racist is not the question. He has made people who are white supremacists feel free.
It doesn't matter.
All right,
His
exactly.
policies are.
That's my position.
Doesn't
All
matter.
right, up next, the new